What's going on, guys? All right, so let's take a look at RIOt. I know I just made a video on this. We talked about some areas it could bounce, and it did bounce, which is absolutely incredible, right? So it could look very scary. And we talked about some downside target potentials, right? But at the same time, if we zoom out here, this is only on the hourly, but if we zoom out here, what are we doing? We're just still trending inside the same pattern here. So there's obviously bullish things, bearish things you could look at, like, lower highs in the price action, right? But we are getting higher lows as well. So to me, getting higher lows, even though we're getting lower highs, is still bullish, in my opinion. So we do have some bearish potential things, right? Like this daily 20 EMA coming down to cross. And that could be something that could push us down a lot lower. The thing is if we look at, it in a negative way, we could look at it like this and say, hey, this right here was a bear flag that broke down. Okay, so that's one way to potentially look at it. And that is a very scary thing that could happen. Because if this does actually play out, then this could be a bear flag here with a downside target back to this original mean trend line, which is $31. Okay. And from there, we would really have to relook at this market and say, hey, is this thing going to continue to be bullish, or are we going to continue down to the downside? And that is definitely a possibility here. So we don't want to X that out. But for now, we are bouncing here. Did we make a lower low here? We didn't, right? Because this low here was 39.49, and this low here was 43.23 or something like that. So if we look at the 4-hour here, the RSI is slowly starting to round, but there's no confirmations yet. So we technically could continue down here, and all the moving averages are calling for us to get pushed down. And this 4-hourly candle was a rejection of this upper trend line here at $50. So there is definitely some bearish things. But if we look at the hourly here, as of right now, short term, right, we can see that we got a nice bounce off of this lower trend line that I tried to say in this last video, which was, this came to 43.20. I was calling for a bounce at 43.90, but I know my video was kind of messed up and choppy. So technically, short term, this is looking like it could try to turn around here. Now, we could create another rising channel, and it could look, something like this, which could end up being a bear flag again, or potentially a further, continuation to the downside, potentially. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Whether we trend in here, come back down to 45.27, boom, boom, and chop in here until eventually we come back up here and decide if we can break out of here or not. And that's what I'm going to be looking for now. Now, if we do get out of here, then it's possible that we could still get another move here. That's not out of the ordinary for it to do something like this. You see here, we wicked here, created a rising channel, we fell. Wicked here, created a rising channel, actually double bottom there, created a rising channel, had a bullish break, so it felt like, hit the top of this rising channel, came down, now we wicked here. So it's possible we rise back up. Potentially, we could get a wick out of here and touch this if we want to. Or we can continue here, get rejected at this 55, come back down to 47.30 and break down. Or we can wick through here, get above, hit this 64, and then, maybe retest something down here as support and then continue to run. Obviously, there's no telling the future, but all I can say is, as of now, we are still in consolidation here. So this is just chopping around until eventually you get enough tightening right here, right? We're going to get super tightening, and then it either blast one way or blast the other way. And that is basically the whole point of technical analysis here, is figuring out which way it's going to break, waiting for it to break, waiting for confirmation of a break, and then we take off and we go with it, and we run with the momentum. So we know that 59.30 was a very, very tough level to backtest and hold, and that's the same thing that happened here when we hit up in this 67 area. We double topped, came back to backtest it, couldn't do it, we dropped. Same here. We pretty much double topped up here with a higher low, or a lower high right there. Double top, correction, couldn't hold any support. Back tested this trend line, came up, double topped here, couldn't get any support, came all the way down, back tested this trend line, came up here, double topped here, double bottomed here, came up, tested this trend line, couldn't get any support, fell all the way back down to this trend line. So that's kind of what's going on here. So now the question is, are we going to continue to backtest this, come back up, try this trend line again, get rejected, try this trend line, you know what I mean? And it's very possible that that's what happens until we get enough constriction in here that we have enough momentum to break through finally. So we don't even have to look at these channels if we don't want. All we know is that we're in some type of consolidation pattern that we have been in for how long now? Since February, for almost 3 months. So now we're getting close to figuring out which way this thing's going to break. And we pretty much have until the if you look at it like that, right? If we wanted to wait that long, which normally you don't want to see something get to the very end of the pattern, because usually you don't end up having a good outcome. So we could find out by as late as 28th or the 21st. I would like to see it by the 21st or the 22nd, as late as the 26th, but I'll start getting worried if we're not out of here by then. But I just want to put this out there because we were talking about some downside targets, of course, right? This lower trend line that we like to bounce off of before we blast it up. And we haven't really came back and tested that since we had this big move. We had this rising wedge here that we broke down. We back tested, blasted off. Now we've been touching this upper trend line here. So we're still bashing our head against this resistance. And we're also bashing our head against the support. So right now, obviously, the bears are in control here, you can tell. But whenever we touch this trend line here, the bulls usually flip and get control. And now that we're getting squeezed in between this support and this resistance area, it's very, very close to making a move here. So, this was a big fake out here, and these were a couple touches up on top that nobody really knew this pattern was here, and probably until now. Now we know this pattern's here. We know where the support and resistance touches are. There's a couple ways you could draw it. You could also drop this down here and call that, we could call it like this as well. We could say, hey, we touched here, we got rejected. Double bottom, touched here, we broke out, got massive volume, got rejected. But to me, that big of a rejection right here with no real areas to confluence that, to me, that's showing me that, hey, this resistance line that we keep getting rejected on is right here. We touched it here, super rejection. We touched it here, super rejection. We did break it a little bit, so it was a fake out. But this is where we're at. And now we're back to this mean trend line. So moving averages obviously are calling for, further consolidation here. Whether we have to bounce in between here for a little while, do some kind of, rounding bottom here, we'll have to see what happens. But I just want to put that out there, that although my last video might have been a little scary talking about some low downside targets, that's just because when we're bashing our head against support, it's more likely to break. When you're bashing your head against resistance, it's more likely to break. So, obviously us being right here, right now, unless we want to get a big bounce here, we want to see some big bounce here, or maybe some consolidation here. But obviously, like I said, that would be more bearish if we just hung around down here at this 43, which so far we got a pretty good sized bounce. Of course, it can come back down and double bottom there, but we don't want to continue to bounce against that because obviously that's not going to be the most bullish thing. You can see each time we've touched it. There was a time here, we touched it, came up, rejection, double bottom, and then blast off. We touched it here once, blasted off. So that being said, that's what this video is about. Just because I don't want to, we don't want to be getting so scared here, thinking we're all going to break down to $30, $20, $15, or any of those low targets here. We don't want to be getting so scared that we want to sell all of our position when in reality, we're still in this pattern. We haven't made any moves to the downside as far as beneath this support, and we haven't made any moves to the upside except for this fake out above this resistance. So still, we're just chopping around in here until we finally get a move. So is it possible that we finally, after a little bit of consolidation here, maybe a bounce up, bounce down, and then a run? Or is that it? Are we going down? That's kind of where we're at. So, what's the play here that you ask, right? Say I'm not even in this thing. I want to know, should I be buying here or are we going down? Should I be selling here? What should I be doing? Well, if it was me, and like I said, I'm locked in a position now. I got in on this W here, right? I played this W, and I forgot to put my stop loss in. So, that's my own damn fault. But honestly, I was here, and I said, this thing's got to be breaking now, right? We got up in this range. Wasn't even watching the chart, wasn't really doing any TA on it. And then, before you knew it, I looked back today and I went, oh shit, I'm down now. Oh, what the hell happened? So, I'm trying to look at the charts and decide for myself. I'm not trying to freak out. I don't want to sell because of fear. I don't want to sell a bottom. I don't want to, anything like that. So what am I going to do here? If I wasn't in this, I'm already in here. So what did I do? I bought some down here at this 43.90 that I just made a video on. Why? Because I'm averaging down a little bit here in case that we do continue down. We don't know, but in case we do continue down, at least my average isn't completely shit. I mean, I'm in the 50s, right? I'm in the 52 or something. I have 51. I don't know where I entered. Somewhere around between this 50 and this 50. So I averaged down a little bit. So what's the play here? Well, we know we got a massive rejection up at this area here, which is going to be an area of confluence. Now, what would I do? I would wait. Potentially, we would want to see what is it? What are we in? There's two ways you could play this, right? We could say this right here is potentially a massive falling channel. And, we don't want to get caught up in any further downside action, but we can see here that this resistance line as of right now is pretty powerful because every time we've touched it here, got rejected, fell further, got rejected, fell further. Now we're starting to come up here. So on this next hourly candle, which most likely is going to be at the close, right? Actually, it's going to be probably tomorrow. We want to see us, continue holding up in this 47 area here. If we took a fib retracement level from here to here, this might help us a little bit better. This is only for getting us a position. Whoops, did that wrong. This is only for getting us a potential position earlier than this breakout trade, which could still be dangerous. But we want to see us holding above the 0.786 at 47.20. We want some confirmed support up here. And then we could potentially long it up to this 0.618 or long it and say, hey, I think this thing's going all the way up. Put your stop loss below. But no, it could hit 47.20, catch some support, run to this 50.25, and then dump all the way back down to this trend line before running again. That's a potential play right there. if you don't want to deal with anything inside this choppiness, you want to look for some type of daily close above this trend line here, which as of right now, if we ran straight up here over the next, say tomorrow, we continue to run up here, right? April 16th, we'll say. That'll be tomorrow. That would be $56.75, so call it $57. And if we can actually flag out and consolidate on top of here, then we can get bullish. Until then, we cannot. If we look here on the 4-hour time frame, look at what's happened every time we've touched this upper trend line. We've gotten a wick, we've gotten a wick, we've gotten a wick. Have we ever closed a candle body above this trend line yet? We have not. So what would I do? Well, I'd look for a candle body 4-hour close above, wait for the following 4-hour candle. So that would be like, say, 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m., we get a 4-hour close above here, right? I would wait until 1:30. I don't care if the price is up here or not. 1:30 close above here. And then if you really want to be crazy, you could just buy this first body above here with a stop loss below, but we don't know where that'll be at the time. It could be, if we, this is just hypothetically speaking, if we continue up here. We look for that body close above here. And for the downside here, well, you can see here, we've had wicks, whether they come below or not. We haven't had any body closes below this trend line here. So this trend line roughly, is somewhere between $43 and $44.70. So what we want to do is we don't want any body closes below. So if you wanted to short this thing, you would wait for a body close potentially below $44 and then another candle close, a 4-hour close below this, confirming that it's a rejection. And then you could short it probably down to roughly this trend line of $32. Maybe this 100 EMA if you wanted to. But so those are the two plays there. So, that would be your way that you would trade this thing. And that's what I would be doing as far as adding more to my position if, in fact, you could look for two hourly closes if you'd like. Because here we had an hourly close above this trend line. We had another hourly close on top of this trend line. But then the third hourly close was this massive spinning top and rejection. So if you wanted to play it instead of that 4-hourly candle close above, you could do an hourly close and you could look for hourly close body above, next hourly close above, and a third hourly close above with volume. And you would buy in either this candle or the following candle, which technically would be a 4-hourly close above. So either which way, that's my ideas, and that's what we're looking for. So just wanted to put this out there just because I don't want to be scaring everyone into anything. If you're in this play, hold on tight. I think that we still have a possibility that we could get another bounce here, and this could be something that if you sold your position here, you would be saying, fuck, it's running again. Should I buy back in? You don't want to be that guy. So either, wait it out and see what happens, or wait it out and see what happens, depending on which way it goes. And that's where I'm at right now. So just keeping an eye on RIOt here. I'm not trying to freak out. Peace.